So another question I frequently get is about how to mount a watercolor painting to a mat. And this is a quick and easy way to do it with some tape. And again, I recommend this Lineco linen hinging tape. It's acid-free and it's stable over time. It's very strong, but it's also easy to remove if you need to. And I've pre-cut 4 pieces of tape. You'll really just need 2 pairs to make 2 hinges, and I'll show you in a second here. This is a 12 by 16 mat with a 9 by 12 opening, and this is a 9 by 12 inch piece of watercolor paper. We'll pretend it's a painting that we're going to frame. And just know that with a mat is usually cut so that the opening overlaps the actual size of the paper a bit, so the paper won't fall through the opening. So you'll see that this paper, it's actually bigger than the hole. And if we turn it over, we can see that the hole covers up some of the edge slightly, and it's about 1/8 of an inch on each side. Sometimes it's a bigger margin on some mats, but this one is about 1/8 of an inch on each side. So keep that in mind when you are working on a painting. That's why I often will use a white border on the piece of paper, so that it's kind of a nice double border in the end when you have the image kind of inset from the opening of the mat. So now I'll show you how I would go about placing the watercolor painting on the mat and adhering it to the mat. But first I want to draw some lines so that, assuming your image is centered on your piece of paper, that we can draw some lines to help us center the piece of paper onto the mat, because it's a little difficult to see exactly where it should go, but this process will help us center it objectively. And again, that's assuming that your painting itself, the image, is actually centered on this piece of paper. And I have another video where I talk about how I put pencil lines on the piece of paper before I paint as an interior border that will show up as a nice white border when you lift off the tape. So with this piece of paper on the back, I will take a pencil, and essentially I'm eyeballing left and right sides. I'm eyeballing how much it overlaps onto the mat, and this looks centered to me, and I can see just from the opening here that the piece of paper, it's level, and I can eyeball it down here. Looking at the bottom edge of it, I can see that that's pretty straight. I'm going to actually trace a line here for the right edge, and I'm going to trace another line here for the left edge. That way I will know the paper belongs in between those 2 lines, left and right. And then now I want to do the same for the top and bottom, and what I'll do is place the paper, slide it over a little bit so you can see the opening here, and I'm eyeballing the top and bottom, and I can see that this opening is roughly even in shape all the way from top to bottom. And now I'm going to draw a line on the top and a line on the bottom, and I'm doing it on the left and right sides so that it's a way for me to be able to judge the overall evenness of the piece of paper. So now that I have those lines, I can remove the paper, and I can just line it up again with the lines that I've drawn, and I will know that the paper is pretty much going to be even. Now with the 4 pieces of tape, this is very simple. I'm going to basically tape one side of the painting to the mat like that, and I'm going to tape the other side here. Again, this is really a simple method for taping a watercolor painting to the mat. And then I'm going to place this tape here so to make a cross, and then one here to make a cross. And then I will use a sharp edge, which can be any object that you want. It could be the credit card, or I'm using the edge, the bottom edge of the pencil here, and I'm going to rub it like this, make sure there are no big air bubbles. And for a watercolor painting of this size, which is relatively small, this will be strong enough to hold the paper to the mat. And now this is ready to be inserted into a 12 by 16 sized frame. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more about the practice of art.